make a slit through there and you pull the neuroma out and cut it off. You cut it out, and that solves the problem. Morton's neuroma. Plantar fasciitis is inflammation of the plantar fascia. And at night, when you get into bed and you take the weight off the plantar fascia, it's going to draw up like that. So in the morning when you get up, if you try to put pressure down on that, it's going to be very painful. And with plantar fasciitis, you have to sit there for quite some time and try to stretch that plantar fascia out in the morning so it's not so painful. There are devices that you can wear at night to keep that plantar fascia stretched so it doesn't have an opportunity to scrunch up during the night. Although I don't think I could sleep with that or that on my foot. You can inject plantar fasciitis with steroids. You can go in and surgically excise it, but that's an extreme option. There are heel spurs that develop. These are weight-bearing overgrowths of bone. They can be either on the plantar surface. They can be in the Achilles tendon up here. You can get heel spurs. They can be painful too. And Dr. Scholes makes a little donut you put in your shoe that takes the weight, puts the heel spur in the hole of the donut, takes the weight off of it. When I Google imaged heel spur, that family came up, so I assume that's the heel spur family. I don't know if it's one word like heel spur or it's heel spur.
So weird.
But an attractive family. Anybody know them? These are plantar warts, or often called seed warts. It's a virus that can be really painful because they seem to occur on the weight-bearing parts of the foot. They're particularly troublesome to high school boys. They are indeed a type of verruca. Verruca is the common name of wart. You can kill these with freezing or with different types of chemical agents. It takes a while to do it because they've infected the skin all the way down to the basement membrane, and we know how long that takes to grow up. Usually because you're dealing with callus tissue, you have to take a scalpel blade and shave off the top. And when you're dealing with these right here, I'll tell you, it's best if you just take that scalpel blade and start shaving it. You know the little dermal papillae are like that? Well, you can see the dermal papillae right here. Right there. You got blood vessels that come up into the top of the papillae. I like to shave it down till you see little specks of blood that you've now whittled down to the top of the dermal papillae. Otherwise, if you try to liquid nitrogen that, it's too thick. It's too thick for the cold to carry all the way to the basal areas. You need to shave off that thick callus first.
What are the pinpoint black areas?
It's clotted blood. Yeah, clotted blood. All right. This is an ingrown toenail. These things are, oh gosh, you deal with these every day. The proper way to cut your great toenail is across, so that the edges grow beyond the corner of the skin. As a matter of fact, if you buy fingernail clippers, the edge is, the clipping thing is like that, right? Toenail clippers are the exact opposite. If you buy toenail clippers, you're not supposed to use fingernail clippers on your toes. Because what you want here is you want your toenail to look like that. So there's the edge of the skin.
Oh my gosh.
That's going past it. Okay? I mean, you don't want your toenails to actually look like that. But you want it to be, you don't want it to look like that. So that's going to dig in. An ingrown toenail is when the edge grows down into the skin. And the only way to get it, to fix it is to do a wedge resection and take that part of the nail off, or take the whole nail off. Anybody had their toenail taken off? I've had mine. You've had only three of us? Four of us have poor hygiene?
Okay, it got ripped
Yeah,
off
mine
in
was
a
for
game,
pitching.
it wasn't full
It's
for
not a
hygiene.
hygiene thing, it's just, you know, it just happens when you don't cut your toenails right, okay?
What happens when you're pitching? When you're athletic?
Gout is a metabolic condition where you deposit uric acid crystals into joints. Very painful, sets up an inflammatory process. For some reason, the joint most commonly affected, probably greater than 90% of the time, is the MP joint of the great toe. Uric acid is an intermediary or a byproduct of purine metabolism. Purines, pyrimidines, right? You know about those things?
Yeah.
You know, like DNA, base pairs, purines, pyrimidines, that sort of thing. That's what you find in meat, right? Find a lot in purines in meat, and that's why this was known as the disease of royalty, because only royalty ate meat. So they eat a lot of purines, they can't metabolize it properly, they wind up with a high uric acid level and gout. So if you're ever asked, what's the disease of royalty, you'd say, that'd be gout. See? It's like the keystone. I'm trying to educate you, make you well-rounded. All right? Gout can be destructive to joints, although these days you'll never see it get this bad. You'll be well-rounded. You won't be like these people. You'll be well-rounded when you get out of here. All right?
Is that
Jones,
person missing a toe too?
huh?
Is that person missing a toe too?
Where?
In the last picture, the last x-ray with the gout?
What about it?
Oh.
Missing a toe.
Oh, his third toe, is it gone?
No,
There's
it's
five.
there,
It is?
It looks
sort
weird.
of.
Yeah, it's like.
The toe's not there, no, you're right,
I
the
thought
toe's gone.
He's got more than just a little down
Probably
issue.
lost it to,
Diabetes?
he actually has it also in the
Diabetes?
ankle. Bones of the foot look pretty chewed up too. But that is, when somebody comes in with a super hot inflamed MP joint, unilateral, it's probably gout. Actually, the way you diagnose it definitively is if you're not smart enough to know that's gout, is to stick a needle in that and draw some of the fluid out. How many people you think you're gonna be able to convince, oh, I'm gonna stick a needle in that?
Can you do like just a,
You can get a uric acid level, but it doesn't really confirm anything. Here's the Jones fracture. These things are typically, you have to put a screw in it, because that's where the lateral weight of your foot is gonna go onto that fifth metatarsal there. You don't mess with these things. These need to be dealt with by an orthopedic surgeon, because there could be a lot of non-union and non-healing of Jones-type fractures. This is a Lisfranc fracture. A Lisfranc fracture is basically a fracture of the midfoot. So you've got this crushing injury here of the tarsal bones, some type of fracture in here, usually from a heavy weight falling onto the dorsum of the foot, like a car jack or something, and the tire landed on you. These things, you gotta have an orthopedic surgeon deal with these. Otherwise, you're gonna wind up with a tremendous amount of arthritis and dysfunction. Here's what's called a trimalleolar fracture. You only have two malleoli for real, a medial and a lateral malleolus. However, the orthopedic surgeons will often refer to the back of the tibia as a malleolus. And so this is a trimalleolar fracture. So you fractured the medial and lateral malleolus and the posterior aspect of the tibia. This produces, since you now have the ankle mortise completely floating free, this is obviously an unstable condition here. Probably the fractures is bad. Yes, ma'am.
How can someone get one? Like, what kind of force makes this?
Usually something like a car accident or a fall from a roof where you're landing, you're trying to land, and it's just a burst type thing. It requires, like a hip fracture, a hip displacement or a knee displacement, it requires a lot of energy to break all three of the ligaments. All right.
It causes what?